Welcome to Beer with the CFO. Bolanle Williams-Olley is joining us today, and our topic is how to build your career boldly. Bolanle, great to meet you.
Same here. Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome. And we sent you the Voodoo Ranger IPA, and that is
right here.
You've got it right. I've got the New Belgium. This is out of Fort Collins, Colorado. And hey, it's fall, so all of these skeletons are starting to appear in everybody's yards. And so this is a lot of fun, a great beverage to have definitely in the fall. So you are the CFO of Mancini Duffy, which is a full service design firm specializing in architecture, planning, and interior design, based out of New York City, with 16 million in revenue and 100 employees. You mentioned before when we were talking that you all did an acquisition, and so you're growing, and that's really wonderful to see. You're a best-selling author, and look what I have here.
I sure am. Thank you. Can you see my book too? It shows nicely on yours. Thank you so much.
I just got my copy and I just started reading it, and I'm in it. I'm gonna finish this guy.
I love that.
It's going to be a great book for me to read, in fact, and it was recognized by Forbes on their summer 22 reading list, CFO reading list. So congratulations on that.
Thank you so much.
You wrote the book to encourage people to take bigger and bolder steps. So, so many people need that extra push is what you talk about. So let's help people lean into their potential and talk about how to build your career boldly. So tell us how a CFO can chart their career path with courage.
Yeah, so once again, thanks so much. I'm really excited to be here. When I think about how CFOs can chart their paths boldly, I think about the office that we're in. I think about this position of leadership that we're in, where we are working side by side with our CEOs, but then you also have the responsibility of making sure that the finance and accounting function is working properly, and you're nurturing the folks on your team. And so I think what tends to happen is that we might see a lot of CFOs who either have an idea of what their role should look like, how they should lead, where you are in a unique position that you can define what your leadership style and what your leadership style is for your company, for your people. And so when I think about leaning into that courageous side of yourself, it's definitely one that looks different for everyone. And so how do you do that as a CFO? One, think about defining what your leadership style is. Think about what your people need. Think about what is unique to you. Think about what you can bring that is authentic to you in how you're showing up day to day. Think about the things that you can change in your organization, in your function, in your teams that you can do differently. Challenge what your idea of what a CFO should look like is, right? And then begin to define what your own is. It is a courageous act to do that. And so, for me, being a first-time CFO, being in this position, my path to CFO was very, very different. I would say, it wasn't the traditional way that I got to the CFO office. And so I had this opportunity to do that. And so that kind of is why I wrote the book, right? To challenge leaders to think differently.
You mentioned in the book that, a CFO that you were working under really believed in you and gave you an opportunity. It was in, after 2008 when the crisis and everything was collapsing, the financial crisis and things were collapsing, and most of your team was laid off. And you said, I'm going to lean in, I'm going to ask for more responsibility. And that's what really allowed you to accelerate your growth. But you had a CFO that believed in you, which is really important. So can you just tell us what the acronym for BOLD is in your book?
Yeah,
Build Boldly?
yes, for sure. So, I love acronyms. I love a good acronym. I think it's a great way for people to remember things. And so when I was writing the book, I was like, I need to think about an acronym around this word BOLD that has shown up, at different points in my career. And so the B in BOLD stands for be yourself, right? Sounds so simple, but there are lots of us walking day to day in our careers, not truly being ourselves. And what does that really mean? It means showing up with integrity, right? Your words match your action. how you show up in the workplace is not different than how you might be normally, right? So really and truly lean into who you are. I think moments in my career, where I saw growth, where I saw people vouching for me or wanting to invest in me was when I showed up as myself. So you mentioned the CFO who was pivotal in me defining my path within my industry. That was because I was myself, right? I went up to him. I was like, listen, I'm hungry. I'm new in the industry, a year in. Please invest in me. And that, opened many doors for me. And so then that leads me to O, which is opening your mind to new definitions and opportunities, right? So I kind of like hinted this when we were talking about how can CFOs lead with courage. Open your mind to new ways of thinking, right? A department, maybe you're a new CFO, maybe you're a seasoned CFO. Have you been doing things the same way forever? Have you been reporting just data, maybe things that have happened, but you're not thinking about new ways in which you can connect with the folks who you're presenting this data to? Begin to think about things differently. Begin to look for opportunities for your organization to thrive. Begin to look for opportunities for your department itself to maybe run a bit more efficiently, right? So really and truly opening your mind to new definitions and opportunities. L is lift others, right? So as you're moving up in your career, how are you investing in people? How are you transforming their career paths? How are you helping them or pushing them to fully realize their potential? And so again, because that was sort of done for me when I was coming up in my career, I'm now that type of leader who wants to look for ways in which I can lift others. And D is don't wait, do it now, right? So a lot of us are in our way. We're in our way of our career dreams. We're in our way of getting out of a position of stagnancy. We're in our way of just doing what it is we want to see happen. And so this idea of what is it that you want to accomplish personally, professionally in your organization? Don't wait. This is the perfect time to do it.
Well, the book is inspiring already, and I'm only in the first chapter, so I cannot wait to finish that. Very inspirational. Thank you. Let's change the topic just a little bit and talk about kind of the economic climate that we've been in the past 3 years, what we may be facing. CFOs are thriving actually in uncertain times. You mentioned, you all made an acquisition recently. And so uncertain times can afford you an opportunity to thrive as well. And based on your book, Build Boldly, following those steps, you'll certainly be on that path. But have you seen CFOs unsuccessfully navigate their role during difficult times?
Yeah, so I mean, the last 2 years, I think, for myself or any CFO out there has been one that has really tested us in our positions, right? And success, you see successful CFOs, and then of course you hear the various different stories of companies either going under or things not working out financially for companies. And I think for me, one of when I think back to maybe something that has happened over the last 2 years is CFOs not identifying the right levers in their industry, organization, company early enough to react to what's happening. Of course, there are so many unknowns, but if you understand what levers allow revenue to increase in your organization, or you understand what expenses you need to cut, or you've developed relationships with certain vendors that can help you navigate this uncharted times that we're all facing, I think you will be in a better position as we're constantly reacting to the changing times that we're dealing with, right? And so I would, back to your question, I think when I see a CFO unsuccessfully either raise the flag too late, right, to your CEO, you're not communicating early enough to the CEO, that's when you run into trouble, right? So identify the levers that make things happen in your organization and speak up.
That's great strategic advice, Bolanle. Thank you. What bold moves have you made during an economic or catastrophic climate? What bold moves have you made?
Yeah, so I actually have two to share. this year, Mancini, myself, and my partners, one of the things that we had really been thinking about going through the last 2 years and then now into a period of growth for us was how can we grow quickly? How can we diversify the clients that we service? And so we made an acquisition in May, and so, in our service-based industry, right, we had been talking to the company that we acquired, Gertler and Wente. Their partners are looking to transition. They were thinking about succession planning, and we complemented each other really well when it came to the different areas in which we service, or even the industries that are similar. Our teams complemented each other, and so that was one bold, really bold move that we made this year. We're very excited, and integration has been going well. The second bold move we made was that we actually downsized our office space, right? So I think going back to your earlier question, right, understanding what the levers were in my industry, one of the things that I knew was that, we were moving into this hybrid workforce. How can we then either downsize our office space so that we create more of a community space where our employees really wanted to come into, where they were looking forward to coming into our space to work. And so the same day we did our acquisition, we moved into our new office space. So that was two bold moves that we made this year.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for joining us on Beer with the CFO.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Wonderful conversation. Thank you so much, Bolanle.